What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the You Know Ball podcast. I am your host, Trill Bro Dude, and recording live from the prison that is the city of New Orleans, Louisiana. We have Trap Sam. How are you doing, Trap Sam?
Look, if there's anywhere in the world I want to be trapped, it's New Orleans, Louisiana, which is great. It's a beautiful day here. It was really hot while we were all there for the live show, and then it was really cold in the days right after everyone left, and now it's we're on baby bear weather right now. It's just right. So yeah, it's been a lovely time. Got to be the first person to go on vacation and record 4 podcasts. White guys be like, I'm trapped. I should record 5 podcasts about this
Instead of going to therapy.
Yeah. What men do be recording podcasts instead of going to therapy.
Yeah, so we have Sam recording from his phone right now because when we recorded the episode last week, we were on my computer, which is obviously here with me back in snow-covered Philadelphia. If you've not been keeping up, Sam got stuck there because basically the biggest blizzard that's ever hit New England happened the day he was trying to fly out. And in perpetuity, his flights keep getting canceled, and we're going on. Today's day 9, right? That you're in Louisiana.
It's day 10. I think.
Day 10. Let's go.
No, it is day 9. No, it's day 9. Monday to Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday. But tomorrow will be day 10, and I'm not going home until tomorrow. So
let's go. 10 days. 10 days in NOLA. Never thought that you could get sick. It's funny because when we were on day like 5 or 6 of the trip, I left on Sunday. And I got lucky because our flight happened to be at 6 a.m. It was the first time, because normally when I go to New Orleans, it's like 3-day. It's like 3-day, 4-day. My fucking camera, dude. It did it again. It turned back on. Anyway, doesn't matter. Continue. My Zoom feature that I thought I fixed has turned back on and is all fucked up now.
The AI, it's like HAL 3000 from fucking
it's fucking with my brain, and now I have bad camera and bad zooming issues. My quality of my camera doesn't look good either. But anyway, we're not going to let that distract us.
Yeah.
When we left New Orleans, when we basically the last few days I was in New Orleans was the first time that I've stayed in New Orleans for more than 3 or 4 days. And while I love New Orleans, it is my favorite place to visit. I had a great time. Thank you so much to everyone who came out and supported us, and Andrew and Richard and all of our friends down there. It was great. We loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time that I ever have been like, have I done too much New Orleans? Because I ate my life away. I drank for the first time in a year on 2 different nights. And I was socializing so much during those few days that my social battery was at 0. So I can't imagine what it's like to have then continued to stay for 4 more days after that, which is what you have gone through in the last few days.
It's awesome. I caught up on Dunk and Egg. They got those little Targaryen guy. It is like quick sidebar. It is kind of insane to me. Like, if you could go back in time to like 2006 and tell like a 16-year-old me, like, every beautiful woman in your life will know about like the Targaryen line of succession in this timeline. And I'll be like, I would have been like, that's awesome. I would do anything to make that a reality. I would endure any hardship. And then Satan called out from the shadows. Did you say any hardship? So I do think this one is on me. I do think I put us in the evil timeline by making a pact with Satan to make Game of Thrones part of the zeitgeist for whatever reason. But it's cool.
Yeah.
Cool that everybody likes it. Don't really understand why everyone likes it, but I think it's cool that happened because I like it.
So yeah, thank you so much to everyone who came out. We had a great time at Sports Drink for the live show. Andrew, if you're listening to this, send me the live show so I can post it. We also had the game. That was great. As always, we got to go on the court afterwards, as we usually do. And We also made it onto the broadcast for the second straight year while we were in New Orleans. Last year was obviously me celebrating when they lost because I wanted them to lose so they could tank. They get the pick, and then they get VJ Edgecombe, and we're watching him play down there. This year we get on because we got everyone in our section, about 20 to 30 people, to chant Fire Morey within an earshot of the Sixers bench. I went back and listened. Not only did we get onto the New Orleans broadcast, we also got on the Sixers broadcast.
Let's go, dude.
You can hear in the background, and you could see the players, specifically Andre Drummond. There was Andre Drummond, Dom Barlow, Joel Embiid, and Nick Nurse were the ones that were like, Dom seemed to be like covering his face, like he didn't want to laugh, and Drummond was just straight up laughing. He thought it was really funny. Nick Nurse and Joel Embiid were kind of confused and looking. Why are these people here in New Orleans to chant, Fire Morey? Who are these people? And then after the game, we had the privilege of going down to the court, as we usually do. We played some hoops on the court. We took some photos, and we see the Ricky Sanchez guys, and they are taking photos with Daryl Morey. We had someone from our group, shout out to JS, who screamed, Jock Lando was traded for cash at the deadline and ruined the team. And then when he was walking past us, he tried to get Daryl's attention, and he screamed Daryl, and Daryl waved and ducked his head and ran into the tunnel. Yeah. We could not get a conversation with Daryl.
He ducked us, man. He ducked us.
He not ducked the Ricky, but he did duck us.
I'm just going to say, I think that every time somebody says that you should be fired, you should be willing to engage them in the marketplace of ideas. So.
And Daryl should believe that. Knowing
yes.
all of Daryl's beliefs and him engaging in debate, we know that he should be able to defend, him making $12 million a year.
I'm just going to say this, just putting this out there for everyone, just something that I noticed. He did not seem willing to get uncomfortable.
He never does. He's always willing to get uncomfortable, to get things to go his way.
Yeah, but he didn't seem very willing to get uncomfortable to talk to us. So
yeah. He's dodging. He was dodging Spike and Mike on the Ricky to come on and defend his trade deadline moves, but he did go out and take a photo with them. And of course, obviously I know Spike's a big fan of Jared McCain. I know Mike was not happy with the trade deadline. So I happened to get a little conversation with them, and I asked them, what's going on with the Daryl situation. And they said when Daryl came out, a fan immediately, before he could even say anything, was like, why did you fucking trade Jared McCain? So the Ricky listeners possibly not super happy with him either. I saw one guy that had a Jared McCain jersey on, and this was before I even knew he was with the Ricky, and I went up to him and I was like, what a bullshit trade. And he goes, yeah, we had to duck the tax. So that's kind of the temperature check on how the fans feel right now about Daryl Morey. It's not just the YKB sickos. It's not just, it's generally speaking, I think Sixers fans, obviously Ricky fans, everyone is not happy with what they did at the trade deadline. And hopefully the ownership group, because a lot of people gave us shit because I posted that clip that said Fire Morey, and they're like, well, actually it's the ownership group. And I'm like, I know the ownership group sucks. The ownership group is also on Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs, and nothing seems to be able to get them out of there or face any sort of repercussion. So I don't think chanting sell the team at the Pelicans game is really going to do anything to, move the needle. But if we do kind of continue to chant Fire Morey because of the moves that he's made, I do think that eventually it could wear down on ownership, and they could reach a point where they might consider something like that. That's kind of been my whole thing, is like, first off, if we're chanting sell the team at the Pelicans stadium, Sam's partner, Gail Benson, was in the crowd.
Yeah.
And people would probably,
for her.
Exactly. People would have been confused.
We love Gail. all Pelicans fans love Gail. They would be so upset if she sold the team.
Exactly.
They would have been like, no, please, Gail, don't leave us.
Don't let the Raising Cane's guy buy us.
Yeah, no. They would hate that. Pelicans fans would be so sad about that.
We got some inside slop. The Raising Cane's guy is trying to buy the Pelicans, allegedly. This is our inside baseball that we're getting on our New Orleans trip.
So go out there, buy some Raising Cane's. Even though the Pelicans were not able to hold the Sixers under 60 points in the first half, and therefore we did not get our free toast.
Bullshit
either, which is fucking bullshit. So,
and we lost the game, so it's not like there and no one was happy is what I'm trying to say. The Pelicans won, the Sixers lost. The Sixers lost it in embarrassing fashion, and no one got toast.
Did beat the Timberwolves the next night though. So
they beat the Timberwolves in the second half of a back-to-back. When the Pelicans were on the second half of a back, is it good? My question here is it good to be on the second half of a back-to-back now? I feel like every time I'm like, oh, this seems on the second half of a back-to-back, they kick our ass, and then we go to Minnesota and we beat them on the second half of a back-to-back. Just a very confusing team. The Sixers are a very frustrating few days. I honestly, we didn't get a chance to see Joel Embiid in person. We didn't get a chance to see DeJounte Murray, who made his debut for the against the Warriors for the Pelicans last night on the season. I can't remember who it was, but someone had said to me that the Pelicans stadium was a dump, and I did not get that experience the first time I went because we were in the VIP. We were like, this is great. I'm not like, we didn't have to pay for anything. We got courtside seats. We had to go back to like the VIP suite or whatever and get free food and drink and blah, blah, blah.
Chop it up with Carlo.
Yeah. I was going to say, this was more of the experience that I am assuming that people are speaking on, which is when you're sitting in the regular stands. Did you notice something? And maybe I don't go to many Sixers games. I don't go to many NBA games. I said to you, I've been to more Pelicans games the last 2 years in New Orleans than I have been to Sixers games at home.
Yeah.
My question for you here is, did you notice that there was a specific accommodation missing from the seats?
Are you talking about drink holders?
There's no cup holders in this.
Yeah. There were no cup holders. Yeah.
I was like, what? I don't think I've ever seen that before. Is that like a thing at other stadiums?
I think that's actually most stadiums. I don't think there's cup holders at a lot of stadiums.
Really?
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm memory holding it.
How are people not just spilling their drinks all the time?
I mean, they do. That's the thing. They do. No, like I think trying to think of like major sports. I don't think they have cup holders at TD Garden. And
maybe I'm just used to going to movie theaters and they all have them. Because maybe I'm gonna say this and people are gonna be like, they don't have cup holders at the Sixers Stadium, and I'm like, I haven't been to the Sixers Stadium in 2 years, so I don't know. But it did feel weird to me. Also, it did feel like we were pretty packed in. It felt like the seats weren't very. I felt like I didn't have a lot of room in my area.
That is also I think in every stadium type thing these days.
I guess I'm just criticizing.
He's not a man of the people. He's not going to games.
I don't like going to games. It's really funny because I talked to Mike Levin about this because Mike's like, I don't like going to games. And I was like, neither do I. I like sitting at home and I like having the comfort of watching it on television and hearing the beautiful voices of Kate Scott and Ala Abdinabi. and just, I can control my own temperature. I can make my own food. I don't need to go to I find the last time I went to a game was probably 2 years ago. It might have been 3 years ago at this point. I really don't go to games that often.
No.
And it's too bright. It's too loud. I'm like this. And also I will say when I was younger, it was definitely, I'm just sounding like an old crank right now. But when I was younger, I would just get drunk and it was fine. And it was just like, oh, whatever. I'll just tailgate and I'll drink a bunch of beers or whatever, liquor, blah, blah, blah. And then I go into the game and I'm like, I don't notice those things. But when I'm sober and I go to games, I'm like, well, this kind of sucks. Like it's loud and I'm hot and it's just the bright and it's just not an enjoyable experience for me. I'm just not. I am a comfort creature. I need my own like environment during a game, and I get to kind of determine what is my surroundings. And I don't really fuck with it, especially when I'm sober and I go to a basketball game.
I'm gonna make sense of this for the people at home. Troll was the most mad I've ever seen anyone at the game. So
That too. That didn't help.
Also, part of it is me and Richard were kind of with sort of with a Pelicans group of our fans, and I think it was very hard on our Sixers fans there.
We were all very upset.
Us, Richard, and Antoine kind of celebrating the Jordan Poole fucking domination that was going on in that game. Wasn't really. I thought it was like genuinely a pretty fun game. The one thing I will say, a little alarming that the Pelicans immediately put their run together once Derek Queen exited the game.
Second straight game, by the way. I watched the Pelicans Warriors last night.
Yeah,
they might have played a game between them, but I watched them play last night, and it was the same thing.
Yeah,
like Derek Queen went to the bench at the end, and they pulled away, and they won the game.
God, they won again. They beat the Warriors last night.
They beat the Warriors. I mean, you saw the injury report. It was like no Steph, no Al Horford. No, there was a bunch of guys out, but they did beat them. And the Warriors have been playing better as of recent, even with all of their injuries.
Yep. No, I mean, it's good. Look, I mean, the play-in is only 12 games away. Get a run with 30
seed, Bill.
Claw your way back into it.
The Mickey Mouse March DeJounte Murray run is going to happen. I'm telling you, he's gonna do one last twist of the knife for the Hawks, and he's gonna fuck up their pick that they have from the Pelicans, and they're gonna end up picking 9th in the draft because DeJounte Murray shoots 40% from 3 for a month, and the Pelicans win, I don't know, 10 of 12 games, and they end up just outside of the play-in race. Honestly, with the teams that are tanking right now, it's entirely possible they can get closer to they're not going to make the play-in, but it's entirely possible that they could leap some teams here that are pulling. The Jazz are pulling the plug, the Grizzlies are pulling the plug, the Mavericks are kind of pulling the plug, but they're probably too far ahead of them to catch them.
At a bare minimum, they could at least make this look a lot less embarrassing than it looked like it was going to be like a month ago,
I mean, it kind of is getting to a point where it is what we said about this team, where it's like at a certain point, they're all going to be healthy and they have enough talent to win games.
Yeah.
It's just they're never healthy. And also the coach was a total dud to start the season. Yeah. And they were favoring playing young players. When I talked to Shamit Dua a little bit about this at the game, because the whole game, of course, we saw him around halftime.
Shout out to Shamit. A great guy.
And I go, yeah, the Sixers are going to blow this game. Like I was like, I've seen this before. They're shooting 45% from 3. They're not going to shoot 45% from 3. And then they continued to miss the next 15 threes that they took. And I was like, classic fucking Sixers. And I basically kept saying to him, like, don't worry about this. But we were talking about it, and he was like, one of the reasons why we didn't really get the Pelicans trade deadline was we were like, why would you trade Jose Alvarado, who's like a fan favorite and is seemingly a great guy and a good locker room guy and like an additive player to a team that's trying to compete? And basically what he was saying was they knew DeJounte was coming back. Jose, while he might be happy right now, might want a lot of money this offseason, and there are teams with cap space that could give him a bunch of money, and they might not be willing to pay him when they just drafted Jeremiah Fears, and they want him to be the starting point guard in the future and blah, blah, blah. So basically, DeJounte is starting now. Fears is going to come off the bench and be the backup point guard, and there would not be a ton of minutes left for Jose Alvarado at the point guard position because they have those two guys. So that made a little bit more sense to me. And like, they probably worked with Jose to get him where he wanted to go. It does just suck that they happen to, get 2 horrible second round picks back for a real rotation point guard that, was making $4 million a year.
But, if they were indeed like kind of looking out for Jose, though, I do think that is one of those agent favors that can in the long run, because hearing that from Shamit, like I think that was more the think. I don't think they were actually trying to get value back for Jose Alvarado. They were just, let's do a good turn by one of our guys that like we like, get him where he wants to go. The return's not great because we're sending him to a team that doesn't have a lot of picks, but we just kind of eat that at this point to foster a little goodwill. Like, and they have, and like the other thing is like they do have like plenty of guys. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't think they have an issue with like guys that they play. Like, I was devastated that Peavy was hurt when we were playing. Like they have like a lot of their guys can play. Carlo was excellent in the game when we saw him. Like
he's the MVP. Every time we go to New Orleans, Carlo is the best player on the floor.
Yeah. He was awesome. He was hooping. Like Fears, I'm not like the biggest Fears guys, but I thought Fears was like solid throughout the game. It was the Pelicans are not in a disaster place. I mean, the process was disastrous of like the like that trade and everything like that, but this could end up being like bad, but not like as horrific as it looked, like
we also got the uncoff of Andre Drummond versus DeAndre Jordan in 2026.
Incredible.
And DeAndre Jordan won the uncoff. So Chiodo put it perfectly when he said, so the Sixers, by the way, do you remember when the Sixers signed DeAndre Jordan?
Yeah. Yes.
That was 2022. That was 4 years ago. And he was like, if you had told me that we were going to see DeAndre Jordan play against the Sixers in 2026, and not only would he be playing, he would be playing well after that series, I would have said it is an impossibility. Like it is unfathomable that this man, we went through it on the ride home. He's played for like 5 teams since he was on the Sixers. I think he signed with the Nuggets. Wait, hold on. No, it's just the Nuggets and Pelicans since the Sixers. But he did play in between now and the Clippers. He also played for the Lakers, the Nets, the Knicks, the Sixers. Like, this man is just a traveling band, and he is still hanging on. He's like 37 years old.
Dude, dog, he was washed in 2018. like that was that first Nets season, right? When he was like part of the quote unquote big three that signed.
So that was 2018 or 2019, 2020, but
okay, 2019. Still, that's still 7 years ago.
2019, 2020, but he was kind of washed the year before that. Like in 2018, 2019, he got traded halfway through the season from the Mavericks, who I didn't even mention in that. I forgot he played for the Mavericks. Who, after they couldn't steal him away from the Clippers, they got him years later. It was DeAndre Jordan, and then he got traded to the Knicks, and at the Knicks, he told KD and Kyrie, like, you don't want to come here. Don't go to the Nets. It's more, and then he signed with the Nets, got his big bag there, got salary dumped and released later. Like, he is
awesome,
an undeniable force. It is incredible that, and honestly, apparently a great guy and a great locker room guy. So I'm happy for him that he got to have a revenge game 4 years later after, we played him in a playoff series that he was unplayable 4 years ago. It is truly a miracle that we got to see that live in person. And by the way, we talked a little bit about the Pelicans and kind of their roster and what it looked like to see it up close. It is, when you have a superstar forward on your team, and yes, I'm talking about Saddiq Bey. That guy never misses against. It's unbelievable. Every time we play them, I'm like, that shot's going in. He had a game earlier this season. I want to say he had 7 threes in that game. In the game against the Sixers, he went 7 of 14 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. He had 20 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. And I was like, this is the greatest. And by the way, another player, and maybe he was not tradable or gettable at the deadline, but another player that the Sixers should have been pursuing. Like, these are the kind of guys that we just refuse to try to go after ever.
By the way, Troy Weaver apology forms are due at the end of the week here.
We talked about it during the live show, which you guys will get to hear at some point.
Yeah.
But during the live show, we were like, so yes, it was bad to trade for Jordan Poole's contract and give up CJ McCollum, who the Wizards then turned into Trae Young. But Saddiq Bey is like a guy. And this is, by the way, the 3rd time in Troy Weaver's executive career that he has acquired Saddiq Bey.
He just goes, like, got to bring my guy back in. Find someone who believes in you the way that Troy Weaver believes in Saddiq Bey.
Yeah. The only player he believes in more is James Wiseman.
Wait, were you still here when we were all trying to figure out who had the random 50-point game? And we kept like naming guys. And
Saddiq Bey's one.
Saddiq Bey was one of them.
Corey Brewer.
He was like, no, that's not it. Corey Brewer was one.
Malachi Flynn.
So that was the one that he was thinking of, but
the one Weaver's Pistons.
But the one I guess before that was Delano Banton was the other one.
He had 50?
Maybe he had like 40.
He might have had 48. I feel like he had like a 48-point game.
Okay. Yeah. But one of the great random 50-point games too. Didn't TJ Warren have a pretty big game at one point too?
The bubble. Yeah, that was against the Sixers in the bubble. So he had TJ Warren in the bubble had a stretch where he was literally like Michael Jordan. Like it was literally like watching Kawhi during the 2019 playoffs, but it was TJ Warren. It was the strangest thing. I remember, I don't remember how many points he exactly had in that debut game against the Sixers, but I know he only missed like 2 shots the whole game. I'm going to look up the exact stat line right now. And by the way, he was cooking like the Sixers were a disaster that year, but their defense was like fine. It was really just their offense that was like clunky, if I remember correctly. Like Ben Simmons was guarding him, and he was just it was just absolutely insane. I'm going to look up TJ Warren's bubble stats.
Yeah.
In the bubble, TJ Warren averaged 31 points, 6.3 rebounds, 2 assists. He shot 54% from the field, 46% from 3, and a career high 53-point performance against the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, 53 burger from fucking TJ Warren in Mickey Mouse. The Mickey Mouse
of all Mickey Mouses.
Yeah, the Mickey Mouse mausoleum itself. I mean, there's been a lot of great 50-point games, but shout out to Saddiq Bey, man. Like, somebody go back and look at the tape. You gave me shit for liking Saddiq Bey like 3 years ago. So,
and he has torn his ACL since, and he has still proven to be a solid rotation wing. There are these guys that are kind of just like not major difference makers, but feel like guys that you could throw them on a playoff team and they will just win you a massive playoff game because they get high. And Saddiq Bey is like the definition of that guy. Like if the Pelicans ever make it back, or if he gets traded this offseason and he goes to another team, he will have a moment where it's just like Saddiq Bey scored 30 points off the bench for the Warriors or for the Sixers or for the Cavs or whatever, and he will swing a playoff game and potentially a series, because this guy, when he gets rolling, it is a sight to see. Not always the most consistent player, not always the most impactful player, but he has some serious high variance games. And for a team, we talked about this too, like for a team like the Pelicans, it's kind of similar to where he was when he was on those bad Pistons teams, where when you play at that, like when you just have a lack, I don't even think the Pelicans, it's the lack of consistency more than the lack of talent on this team.
Yeah.
And looking back and at that Pistons team from when Saddiq Bey was still on the team, I remember James Edwards of The Athletic wrote an article during the season 2 years ago when they were like the worst team in the league and they had that streak where they could not win a game. He wrote this article basically stating in the article, you know, the reason why the Pistons are as bad as they are is like before this, they had like Jeremy Grant and Saddiq Bey and guys who aren't like high level starters by any means, but they would have random games where they would hit 7 threes. Right. And a team like the Pelicans just needs guys. Like their starting lineup in this game was, dude, it was mind blowing to see their starting lineup. They won the game, by the way. They didn't win in this lineup, but they won the game with their starting point guard. I think their starting point guard was Fears Herb. Their small forward was Derek Queen. Their power forward was Zion, and their center was DeAndre Jordan. So this team desperately needs guys like Saddiq and even DeJounte, now that he's back, that can just catch fire occasionally and really kind of power them to wins, because that's kind of what every bad team needs to be somewhat competitive. Just high variance shooters that can kind of keep them hanging around. Yeah. And the Sixers have been on the other side of that a few times this year, where we just let teams get hot and end up losing massive upsets. But anyway, we spent 30 minutes talking about our trip to New Orleans. Once again, thank you everyone for coming out. We'll definitely be doing some in the future. We'll definitely be trying to hit up some other locations as well. Maybe Boston, maybe New York, maybe do a little DC trip at some point. We're going to hit a bunch of different spots that are maybe a little bit closer. And then in the future, I'm trying to get out west. I'm trying to go to like Denver and Portland and all these different spots. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully Sam doesn't get stuck in the next place.
We're gonna make it. It's gonna happen, man. I'm gonna get trapped again, so it'll be fine.
Trapped in the NOLA. So very fun times. We didn't really miss much in the NBA necessarily when we were in New Orleans. There wasn't a ton of news. We did have some injury news come out today about James Harden.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
It does seem like it's not that serious though. It seems like it's on his non-shooting hand. It's not going to require surgery, and it's going to be 4 to 6 weeks to recover.
Yeah, but that's still the part of the reason I really like that trade for the Cavs is I kind of thought that Harden could kind of shoot them up into the fucking the back into the top of the East, because I don't know if the Cavs are built for coming out of the East out of a lower like seed, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think that part of the good thing for having James Harden on your team is you kind of become like a try-hard regular season team, you know. Like, and if
have you looked at the standings though?
I admit that I am not up on the standings. Are they fourth?
We're fourth, and they would play the Raptors in the first round.
Yes. Well, that's something else. But I think they need to be higher than that, though. I think they need home court against like the Celtics or the Knicks if they're going to stand a chance. And
so here's the thing.
Yep.
Right now, this would be their pathway.
Okay.
Cavs would play the Raptors and then the Pistons, or the winner of the Pistons 1-8. Well, I'm assuming it's the Pistons, unless they get the Hornets. I think the Hornets have a puncher's chance in that series, but I think that's kind of an ideal pathway if you're the Cavs. Like, I think that the Cavs should try to get as high as they possibly can, just because of what you're talking about, where it's like, it's good to have home court advantage, obviously. But like, I do think there is an argument to being in that 1-4 bracket, as opposed to being in the other side where you're probably going to have to play one of the Knicks or the Celtics in the second round, possibly the Celtics with Jason Tatum back. Yeah. And then in the first round, your opponent could be the Sixers or the Magic if Franz comes back and he's healthy. Like, I think for the playoffs, I would rather have that stretch.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you're talking about is we talked about this over the weekend, the nagging feeling that in spite of how good they've been and that they're, best team in basketball, like just in terms of like the regular season, we still kind of are not sold on the Pistons as a playoff thing, and there's no numbers backing that up. There's no,
it's vibes. I talked about this in New Orleans. I was like, it's basically all vibes for me. And also, your second best perimeter scorer is Tobias Harris, and I will never believe a team can make the NBA finals if that's the case.
If they do, Cade is like turbo stamped. Like if this Pistons team makes the finals, I have been like disastrously wrong about Cade Cunningham, and he's elevated himself into
top 5 player conversation.
Like that is like gonna kind of need to be what it takes at that point for them to like kind of be like a very serious playoff team. But who knows? We'll see. But your point is taken on that. I do kind of just wish that Harden would get a little bit more time to kind of integrate himself with these guys, and for them to kind of like figure some of this stuff out, just like for him to like kind of be in then out, then in then out, and then playoffs that's just kind of tough.
For sure.
Yeah, and I don't know, like this is a Cavs season that is not healthy, you know what I'm saying, right now, and you've kind of pushed in some chips to have some real success this offseason. It's just it's pretty unlucky, I guess is what I'm saying. Like
so right now it sounds like Harden might just try to play through it. But I'm sure we'll get some more information soon here. And the thing that people have expressed, and I'm not sure if this is true or not, Dan was saying this earlier in the Discord, is it possible that he could not fuck it up more, but just kind of make it linger if he continues to play through it down the stretch of this season? And are you better off just shutting him down, trying to make sure he can recover and bringing him back in for the playoffs? We'll see what that looks like down the stretch here. They're coming off a big win against the Knicks last night. They're in the honeymoon phase with Harden right now, as it is every single February he gets traded or when he joins a new team. It is always the the Cavs are 7-1 or whatever they are, and their point differential is crazy, and Jared Allen's having the best stretch of his career, and Donovan Mitchell's never looked happier, and da-da-da. And we have yet to see this extend into the playoffs beyond, occasional games that he had with the Sixers or the Nets, and in those runs. Obviously, the Clippers were kind of a surprise last year, largely due to his renaissance in a way. So I think that he does deserve a lot of credit, but we are kind of getting down to, nut crunching time with this Cavs team. And I feel like someone said to me, is the trick just to trade for James Harden in the middle of the season so that the honeymoon doesn't wear off? Mm-hmm. And the Sixers are the one team that have done that. Every other team traded him for either very early in the season or in the off season. And they have never traded for him when it was, February or March or February, like the Sixers did. But the difference is that James Harden was still injured when the Sixers traded for him. Like, he was a year removed from the hamstring injury. He tried to play through that, and then it kind of continued to linger and linger and linger, and really didn't even wear off fully until I would say like the last year into this year. And he's starting to look a little bit more springier, and it's, it was like a multiple year injury thing for him, and he still was an effective player because he really is basically like a taller version of Suns Chris Paul at this point, where he's been able to figure out a way to extend his post prime here in order to basically go to new situations and kind of revive whatever's been going on with those teams. Like the Sixers got them back into contention. The Clippers basically made it so that they weren't a total laughing stock while they owed their picks to the Thunder. And now with the Cavs, basically he's doing another potential, extreme home makeover here, trying to make this team into more of a legitimate contender. And we'll see, because this is, I know he just got hurt again, but this is a hand injury on his non-shooting hand versus when he had a soft tissue hamstring injury that he was overcoming before with the Sixers, which really hurt his explosiveness, his burst, and made it so that he was more of a table setter kind of, guy who could occasionally have good games, but really was not reliable as a scorer on ball guy. I'm very excited to see what it looks like down the stretch of this season, because he kind of has fit in so well with this team. But I don't want to be loosey with the football, as I've said so many times with Harden in the past, when it comes to, believing in a team that he goes to and then potentially making a run to the finals.
I'm just saying, if you want to go by the outcome of what will happen is the funniest possible outcome. Is there a team that could win the finals this year that would be funnier than the Cavs?
Let me see. A realistic one?
Yeah, like a realistic one. Like, so obviously the Hornets would be hilarious, but
that's not going to happen this year. Yeah, right. I do think that we're like a year or two away from them like making some moves and being serious.
Yeah,
movers and shakers.
Yeah.
The funniest team that could possibly, because I don't think the Sixers are a realistic possibility. Like, I think they might be able to make the conference finals. I have a hard time seeing them. And that's like the furthest I can stretch my mind here.
Yeah.
Let's see. Are there any West teams that would be like
real? Is like,
I think the Lakers have,
but they're terrible.
Their ceiling is winning a playoff series, and at this point, I think they're dead on arrival in the playoffs.
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
Yeah,
they were dog shit, dude. Luka, by the way, every day, Nico obviously should have chopped him and everything like that, but we're getting every day we get a little closer to like, was Nico Harrison like totally wrong about that? Like,
once again, even when we were trying to rationalize this and all of the quotes were coming out and the PR spins and all that stuff, our whole thing was, even if you're right, why did you do it for this player at this time?
Yes.
And the thing that I keep thinking about, and we did a little conversation on this. We did a little conversation on this a few years ago, where it was like, who could be the best player if you traded Luka Doncic? Who could you get? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that was like, and then the trade happened and we tried to figure it out. And I think the answer, honestly, And they would have been, see, it's hard to say they would have been better off because I think they would have been too good to go get Cooper Flag. But the answer, what's that?
Yeah, to get Cooper Flag, yeah.
Yeah, and like I think the answer that I have landed on, funny enough, is Donovan Mitchell.
Funny. Yeah.
If they had called the Cavs and said, we'll trade you Luka Doncic for Donovan Mitchell, they had just made the finals. First off, they would have been like, when are the allegations coming out?
Yeah.
That would have been, but like, keep in mind, now obviously the issue the issue with that is that the Cavs were in the middle of this incredible season, and they might have had to wait until the offseason. Then it could have gotten out, it could have gotten messy or whatever. But Donovan Mitchell,
Shams, by the way, Harden will play through the thumb.
Okay, so he's I was gonna say, I know Harden.
Yeah.
Harden's a grinder, dude. He's not going to take off time if he doesn't have to. So we'll see how this looks over the next few weeks, but it definitely makes me feel a little bit less confident about them rising up in the stand. Like, I thought they could have got up to the 1 or the 2 seed. Now I'm fairly confident that they're probably, unless this really doesn't affect him, I think they're going to be in that 3 or 4 spot come playoff time. And we'll see how this goes down the stretch of the season, but it's going to be something that we have to keep an eye on. So, but back to the Luka conversation. The player that I really think in a vacuum they could have got for him is Donovan Mitchell, because Donovan Mitchell was not committed to Cleveland. Like, his status is kind of up in the air right now. He signed the extension, but like did not say like, I want to spend my whole career here. I'm going to be here. I'm a Cav for life, whatever. So I think they could have probably done that. And it might have had to wait until the offseason, and Nico might have had to just kind of keep it under wraps until then. And Luka did come back at some point, so maybe that fucks up the flag thing, and it worked out for them. But I think if you could go back in time, that would be the player that they could potentially get. And getting 27-year-old Donovan Mitchell is obviously way better than getting 31-year-old injured Anthony Davis. Like, that's just like a massive gap in like just availability, and Mitchell's just a way better player now than Anthony Davis is. And that's the thing that really sucks about the process from his standpoint. But the Luka thing, I still think Luka's incredibly talented. I still think that you can build a really good team around him with the right pieces, but I would be lying if I didn't say that it was noticeable when you go back and you watch 2 to 3 years ago, Luka, where he was much burstier, springier, and a true dominant 3-level scorer in a way that it just feels like he's a little bit more like has to slow down. He's always slowed the game down for sure and controlled the pace, kind of similar to like Houston Harden, but it feels like it has gone to another level. And it feels like in a playoff setting, that can be something that is very easily schemed against and stopped, because if the step back 3 isn't falling, he's a much more human player in the playoffs. He's not this superhero guy anymore. And they obviously have not done him any favors. The LeBron, Reeves, Luka lineups are a disaster this year. And we kind of saw this coming. We said we don't love the fit of these guys, but I think that they have to really start approaching this thing like, we need to do as much as we can to basically build a similar team to what the Dallas team was with Luka, and hope that he can continue to take this a little bit more seriously and, kind of get, because he was injured and looked slower and all that stuff last year too. But you could be like, well, he's coming off an injury. He's played a lot of basketball, blah, blah, blah. I do think that it's starting to get to a point where it's like, because I wanted to talk about the MVP during this episode, so this is actually a good transition. But like, Luka Doncic is never winning an MVP.
Dude, I saw him. He's like 3rd or 4th in odds right now. I was like, who? Who is that? Anything but like a Lakers tax for him? Like, because like I don't know. Maybe I'm like going too much off like one game. He was like not like, he was fine, but he was like not good in that like Celtics game, that national TV game. And like, I just don't think like you can't be like a 0 on defense, not be the same dominant level guy, and still be like a complaining, whining, fucking foul baiting hunter guy. Like, you can't do all of that and still be like an MVP thing. And I understand that like we're kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel where like if SGA ends up not being eligible and some of these other guys not being eligible, like it does put things in a little bit. But like Cade is so much more deserving than Luka. It's crazy. Like, why is Luka even like in the mix? Like, I know people want to like come at me for like saying, they want to do the advanced stats thing with like Jaylen Brown and everything. Like, Celtics are a good team with not a lot of like good players, like, so
they did destroy another team last night without Jaylen Brown. The case against Jaylen Brown is that every time he's out, they destroy teams, and they're not like terrible. Now the Suns were a beaten up Sun squad last night, but
look, I get that, but like, what are you pointing to? Somebody's got to be good. Like this has always been my thing with the Celtics, because like people do like to like slander the Celtics. It's like, okay, Derek White's been awesome, like as like metrically, but he's not like an offensive player. So it's like, is your thing that Peyton Pritchard is like?
No, I think you could say that they win by committee. I think that Jaylen Brown has had a great season, and I think that he will make second team All NBA or whatever. And I think that he is worthy of that. But I also think my thing is like, if we're talking MVP, he would be by a mile the worst MVP in the history of the NBA.
That's true. I mean, that's objectively true.
We could get that either way. And even, by the way, I just want to point out, I still think Cade would be one of the worst MVPs we've ever seen.
I agree.
And it's nothing against Cade, who is a great player and has really beaten every single allegation that us and whoever else has lobbed against him. He's very clearly been one of the 7 or 8 best players in the NBA. But this new rule has basically, like, he's not had a historical season by any means. He would be in the Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose style of really good player who was on a great team. Well, I guess Russ was more of a narrative thing, but like Rose was like on a great team and ended up winning MVP because he has lifted up the talent around him in a way and made it so that he was a good offensive engine that allowed them to have a great defense. I don't doubt that that is the case, but if we're zooming out and we're looking at the seasons that, guys usually win for MVP, especially recently, they're some of the greatest seasons we've ever seen. And I feel like if you are comparing him to other recent MVPs, whether it's Giannis, Jokic, Embiid, SGA, whoever, it would be a weaker MVP. And it's basically only due to the 65 game rule. Now, I want to talk just a little bit about the 65 game rule, because I know we talked about it when Jokic got hurt. Jokic came back. I think he still technically qualifies. I would imagine he plays all the rest of the games. He looked like shit when he first came back. He's kind of slowly found himself the last 2 or 3 games. So right now, I did my MVP ballot, and I'm assuming that SGA, Jokic, and Wemby qualify, because those 3 are still eligible. Giannis is gone. Luka's almost done, but I agree with you. I wouldn't have him in my top 5. Like, no. I might have him 6 or 7, but like, God damn it, I did it. 6, 7.
6, 7.
Are we past that meme yet? Or are we still doing it?
I think that one's gone. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good.
We're on to like talking about Alyssa Liu and like Stateside by Pink Panther.
Okay.
I think
cool.
the new one.
Good. All right. Glad. I'm glad we can move on from that, and I can continue to talk like that. But so the thing that I'm trying to get at here is basically, if you're stacking up the MVPs this year, obviously SGA is out with an injury right now, but he should be able to qualify, I would imagine, down the stretch of this season. He's going to come back sometime in the next few weeks. Jokic came back and he's starting to look more like himself. For the first 2 months of the season, he might have been having the greatest offensive season we've ever seen, which I think has to play a massive factor when you're voting for MVP. Since then, I think Shea's been a little bit better. I think on the whole, Shea's been a little bit better. So those are my 1, 2. If either one is out, I would just give the MVP to the other, because I do think they're both having historically good seasons on really good to great teams. And I think that they're the large part of the reason why they're having that success. Third, I know this might be a little bit unusual because he's not putting up the most insane stats from a points per game status or even just offensive stats in general. But I watched the Pistons and the Spurs the other night, and Wemby is a destroyer of worlds on defense. He is basically having one of the greatest defensive seasons I've ever seen from a player. And he completely shut down the Pistons offense. He made Cade look human. Him and Castle was great in that game. But him, between those two, Castle's perimeter defense, Wemby's paint and rim protection in that game, I was like, look, I know he's still kind of not really that guy on offense. And he was 2 of 11, and it was the greatest 2 of 11 start to a game I've ever seen in my life. And then he was absolutely insane down the stretch of this game. He finished with 21 points, 17 rebounds. He only shot 6 of 16 for the field. He had 4 assists, 1 steal, 6 blocks. And when they needed him the most of that, like, I would have him third. And my whole thing is, I do wonder, because Giannis, before he was hurt, was also having this incredible season. And obviously, offensively, Giannis is like levels above where Wemby is at right now. Like, I still think that Giannis is the much better offensive player. But I do wonder if between the availability and if Wemby gets like the Spurs to the conference finals or something, if we could be having a conversation about him being the third best player in the NBA. Because, I mean, I just watched that game and was just, he's still not the most consistent. He still has a long way to go offensively to become, like what people think he could be, like a potential GOAT candidate or whatever. But just I remember before the season, I said to you, do you think Wemby can be one of the 10 best players of all time? And you were like, yes. And I was like, well, then he will make the leap to top 3 in MVP this season. And I kind of think that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. It's kind of annoying when we agree, but I agree with literally everything you just said. That's exactly my like MVP ballot, as we say. I have SGA like number 1 by a hair. I have Jokic number 2, but I think Wemby, like, I had kind of written Wemby off because he missed so many games early. I didn't think there was any chance of him like even being in the mix for some of this. I think
he has a 2 or 3 game cushion to still qualify for all NBA and defensive player of the year and MVP.
I was going to say, like, has there ever been more of a lock for defensive player of the year if he qualifies?
Second straight year, but last year he got the blood clot. Mobley won. If he doesn't get, so I had another thought about this.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get it, I can't remember who. It's probably just going to go to one of the Thunder guys, but I don't. Yeah. I think it should go to Scotty Barnes. Like, I watched, like, now he's once again another guy who's just not always the most consistent offensively, even if he is like a truly additive player on that end because of everything else he can do. But defensively, like, he's a monster. And the Raptors are a team that's probably going to finish top 5 in the, I know the East is the weaker conference, but they're going to have, when he's on the court, especially with Colin Murray-Boyles, their defense is really, really good. And it's not like they have the best defensive talent and infrastructure around him. They're playing guys like RJ, who's just wildly inconsistent on defense. They play Brandon Ingram a lot. Like, they haven't had a center most of the season. Like, and even when the centers do play, it's Mamu, who, Mamu's great on offense, but defensively, that's always been a weakness of his, why he can't stay on the court. Like, I think I would seriously consider Scotty Barnes. I mean, I would imagine it's going to go to one of Chet or Wembus. But I think if you're going to go with a non-big, I would definitely go Scotty Barnes. And I think that he has a better case than pretty much anyone other than Wemby, who should win it. It should be a lock to win it.
I hadn't really thought about that, but I agree with you. I think, like, I don't know, Scotty. I think Scotty, maybe Cade, but I think Scotty has done the most this year to kind of change how I feel about him as a player. Just this season, where, like, I thought Scotty was like fine, going to be like a perennial all-star type guy, but he's like now kind of approaching. I always made fun of Zach Lowe for calling him 10 times all-star. Scotty Barnes, this is the first time I felt like that's like kind of possible, to be honest. Like, he does kind of seem like he's going to be like sort of like a perennial like third team all NBA like fringe guy kind of for like the next, I would say, like 7 years. If he's healthy, he'll be like in those conversations. Maybe he doesn't make all NBA all those years because just the league is so good, but he's been awesome, man. And it's not, we've talked about this ad nauseum with the fucking Raptors. It's not a context that's like designed to help him thrive. But yeah, no, Scotty's been awesome. And I think, like, defensively, I think what you're talking about, I think he's a good like next up type of guy if like Wemby's not around. I don't know. I just don't think. I think the Thunder guys. I mean,
That's
again,
a committee team to me. Like even when they're injured, they have like the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. They have a second guy who can help Chet. Like Chet is great on defense, don't get me wrong, but they just have so much infrastructure defensively in a way that a guy like Scotty Barnes doesn't have, in a way that a guy like Wemby doesn't have. And honestly, I will say the Timberwolves have a little bit more infrastructure, but Rudy Gobert still should be up there for this award, and he is in terms of odds. I just don't think he's going to win because he's already won so many times. But it was noticeable when the Sixers played against the Timberwolves the other night, even with J, who's supposed to be good on defense. And they didn't have Naz Reid for that game either, so they were really thin at big. But my point here is that Gobert is still the reason why they have the defense they do, even if they have some decent defensive talent around him on that team, guys like Jaden McDaniels. Like I think that he absolutely, those are like the four guys. I would imagine if Wemby doesn't qualify here, it will probably come down to Scotty versus Chet because everyone's kind of sick of Gobert. And Asar should probably be up there, but his coach hates him and he doesn't get enough minutes. Like he gets benched pretty much anytime he makes a mistake. I know Pistons fans have been driven insane about that all season. And they've been playing careless pervert to close games whenever it doesn't end up working out for Asar in those games.
What a slander name.
It's a great slander name. I've seen that on Twitter recently.
Careless pervert is so good. Oh my God.
And once again, I mean, this is just a rumor from Mark Stein, but he did say that if Chris Middleton gets bought out, the Pistons, the team that drafted him, would be interested in bringing him in. And I was like, that's how I know Middleton's been a little bit better with the Mavericks, just like from a scoring standpoint, but I don't think you have a ton of trust in your bench scorers if you're like, bring me 34-year-old Chris Middleton or however old he is.
God,
and Chris was a great player, but it's just his ankles have kind of ruined his body. And I once again, it can't hurt to take a flyer on that, especially if it makes it so that he doesn't play Karis LeVert as much. But yeah, I don't know. Like the Pistons, once again, I think they have the best record in the NBA right now. Like even after the Spurs game, the Thunder might have tied them again, but after the Spurs game, because before that, then Cade has this amazing game against the Knicks in the Garden without Duren, without Beef Stew. They're both suspended from the fight, and once again, stamped like top 7-8 player in the league. I have not thought anything other than that for about 3 months now for Cade in terms of how he's played this year. He would probably be fourth on my MVP ballot, I think, if I did it after Wemby. So I would go Wemby, Cade, and then I would have my fifth spot. I thought there are a bunch of guys that could kind of rotate in that fifth spot just because we've had Giannis would obviously be in the top 2 or 3 if he were healthy this year. There are plenty of guys that kind of just don't qualify based on availability and based on like, I don't think Luka has played up to his level that he can play, to be honest with you. And that's why I wouldn't include him here. But I think Donovan Mitchell would probably be my fifth guy. Like Mitchell has had this incredible season. I think that the Cavs are going to end up being a top 4 team in the East. And I think that they've had a bunch of moving pieces around him, multiple trades in the middle of the season. And I think that he's probably had the most underrated season of any player in the NBA because he doesn't even really get brought up anymore. He's kind of just ignored, it feels like. I
think part of that is the playoff stuff, and it's like the playoff is like not his fault, but it's like also you're a superhero in the playoffs more often than not, but your team keeps eating shit across multiple locations. Like we have like 5-6 years now of disappointing like playoff exits. And I think that's why Donovan Mitchell, and I know it's supposed to be a regular season reward, but I think that's why he gets kind of slandered a little bit and like forgotten in some of these purposes.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things where I think until he kind of beats those allegations, I don't think that anyone will probably consider him for an award as big as MVP. Whereas some of these other guys like Luka hasn't had to prove that before. He also has the shine of the LA thing. Jaylen Brown has even won finals MVP before, and had massive moments in the playoffs. I think Maxey cooling off recently has made it so that he'd probably be a further down ballot guy. He'd probably be more like in the 8 or 9 range for MVP if you're stacking it up. And then another guy that probably just based on cool zone playoff performance and having a really good season would be Anthony Edwards. That would be considered for
the other one.
Yeah.
So you have all those guys ahead of Jaylen Brown?
I probably have Jaylen at like I probably have Jaylen around 6 or 7.
Okay. I have like him.
I have a hard time voting someone for MVP if their team is just better when you're off the court, and that is what his.
I think that's kind of made. I don't know. I think that
we have a large sample of it at this point. Like if you look at the minutes
like,
and the games, it's overwhelming how good they are when he's off the court.
Here, I'm putting on my ball don't stop like cap though. Like,
I'm not saying Jaylen's a bad player. We're talking about the MVP of the league.
Yeah, I get it.
It's a different conversation.
I'm just saying, like, it's everyone is kind of like slandering him for this, and it's like, okay, I didn't realize Ron Harper Jr. was like this devastating, like, good guy. You know, like that. Oh my God, Jordan Walsh is like a fucking bucket and a problem. Like, are we gonna start talking about Neemias Queta for Defensive Player of the Year if like Jaylen Brown is bad? You know what I'm saying?
So, I said this the other day, and I do think that we have gotten too far away from when we're having conversations about basketball. I saw this like post about like, I basically was like, teams or players shouldn't rely as much on 2-point volume because shooting threes makes it so that teams don't run out and get fast breaks on the other end and blah, 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 and whatever. And I'm like, all right, I understand what you're trying to say. Like it's not reliable to have a 2-point volume if you aren't a superstar player. Most of the players that have a heavy 2-point volume in the NBA are either like play finishing centers or superstar players. Like that's just kind of an objective fact. I think everyone agrees with that. But if you're not trying to work for a team or like work in media, like I at a certain point, I just want to be a fan. And and as someone who like, we talk about this on an everyday basis, we still are fans at the end of the day. And I, by any means, like I ranked Jaylen Brown 21st on my players when we were ranking the best players in the NBA. And I think he's been clearly better than that this season for the Celtics. And I know that the on-off data and whenever he doesn't play, but we're talking about the MVP of the league. And if your team is very good when you don't play, it just happens to be, once again, it is by committee. They kind of done a little bit of algorithm ball. They shoot a ton of threes. They figured out how to win the possession battle basically every game. Missoula probably should win Coach of the Year, to be honest with you, for what he's done. And they've gotten a lot of contributions from players that are not players that we enter, like Hugo Gonzalez and Jordan Walsh, and these guys that really were not seen as NBA players before this season have had impactful roles for the team throughout the course of the season. And I think that if we are talking about Jaylen Brown getting his respect and having a great volume scoring season and being like an all NBA player, I totally agree with that. I just think that if you were going the most valuable player on your team and the team is just as good, if not better, when you're off the court, it's just hard for me to get beyond that. Like when we look at MVP every year, it's like, wow, they are destroying teams when this player is on the court, and they're like, okay, or they're not that good when the player is off the court. That matters to me when we're talking about the most valuable player in the NBA.
Sure. And like, this is why Jaylen Brown, I don't think like beats out like Wemby or Jokic or SGA or even Cade, like I'll concede Cade and all those guys. But also, this is also something that's a very different discussion when we're talking about a team being like the number 2 seed and like not having like the number 2 seed like in the East and being like, I think they're still a top 5 team in the NBA. Like, I just like, I think if you want to like cling to like plus minus on off data like that, like when we're talking about like the best player on the floor and a guy who's like pretty stamped in the playoffs. I think that there's like a little bit of like missing the forest for the trees there, unless you want to like make an argument that like Peyton Pritchard has under the radar kind of become a like a Caitlin Clark variant, like without anybody like paying attention. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
she was very upset at that comparison.
She didn't like that.
You didn't see that clip?
No, I missed that.
I want to say it was Reggie Miller. They said, could you compare her to an NBA? This was like during All-Star break. And they literally said, what player would you and he said, you remind me of Peyton Pritchard. And she was like, her reaction was not a positive one, because she was thinking he was going to say like Steph Curry or or
I mean, she would be. I mean, she should be offended by that. I didn't realize it was to her face. You know what I'm saying?
He said it to her face. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I would never say that to her face. But like, I think this is a thing. You know, it's a, you know, not all rhombuses or squares and rectangles. You know what I'm saying? Like, I do think that Peyton Pritchard's comparison is Caitlin Clark, but I do think that Caitlin Clark's comparison is probably Steph Curry.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is that's unfair to what Caitlin Clark has accomplished. But here's the thing: once again, I hate the calculator rat shit to like go like kind of hammer on this, but they have kind of figured out a way to just, no matter who's on the court, just be like, dude, when even in 1,000 minutes when he doesn't play, they have a plus 12.8 net rating. Like, they've been incredible when he doesn't play.
I get it. But if you're going to say that, you need to tell me where this is coming from then. You know what I'm saying? Like, who is Derek White so good on defense that it doesn't matter that he's shooting like 40?
Apparently, I'm just telling you, and it's not just on-off data that you can use. I'm just saying that no matter who they put out there, this the thing that you talked about in the preseason turned out to be true, where it's like they've also added this wrinkle of like offensive rebounding. And then they acquired Vucevic, who I know there's only been a handful of games here, but like gives them another element as a spacer at the 5 position. And it's just like they seem to have figured out a way to make a team that is so versatile that in the regular season, at least, because I do think that in the playoffs, that's kind of where Jalen has really shown his value. Even I don't even care. People will say like, well, actually, they're better in the play. I'm like, we've seen Jaylen Brown take over playoff games as a scorer.
Yeah. I mean, that's
he's had some really low moments in the playoffs too.
I was gonna say the Miami series was bad, but he's been overall extremely good in the playoffs.
But we talked about this before, where it's like having a secondary scorer who could just take over the volume scoring when teams have solved a lot of other parts of your offense. And the Celtics offense is a little bit harder to solve, even though that has been a downfall of them in the past. I think the last 2 years, specifically, it's been a little bit harder to kind of bring down as opposed to how it was in the past, because the spacing has been so much better. But when Jason Tatum doesn't have it, or, you know, they can't rely on just the 3-point variance and all that stuff. Jalen still has occasional games where he's just an overwhelming athletic force against teams in the biggest moments. But if we're talking about the MVP of the league, I did get I don't know if you saw listen to Zach and Bill talk about this, but they had this conversation, and I think Zach had Jalen like 6th or something.
Yeah.
And he listed his top 5 was, I think it was what I just listed out. Which was
over Jokic. I'm kind of surprised by that.
I don't know if he said his top 5 guys. I don't know if he
did it in order, but
he did like Jokic, SGA, like whatever. And he said like he would have Wemby up there, Cade up there, assuming Wemby qualifies. And then I think he said Anthony Edwards was his 5th. Okay. And the thing that basically Bill kept just being like, it was very funny. The comment was like, I love Zach broke down his argument for why he would choose Cade or why he would choose someone else. And then Bill's like, but Jalen shows up and tries every day. And that has to mean something. Yeah. And I'm like, once again, I think Jalen's story and what he's done this season, and he's had a great year by volume scoring and being basically the number 1 guy on an offense in a way that he hasn't proven that he can be in the past. I think all of those things are huge things that you could add to his Hall of Fame resume when he goes into the Hall of Fame one day. I just have a hard time being like he is one of the 4 or 5 most important players to his team this season when I see them have success, whether he plays or not.
And again, I understand that. I'm not even like really arguing with that. I just like in the meta narrative about the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum is hurt and gone. And the Celtics are supposed to be dog shit this year, but their line is set at like 35 or something like that before the season.
Yeah, they cleared it.
Yeah, I'm higher than them on that because I think Jason Tatum is more. My personal philosophy on Jason Tatum is that he's more of a like ceiling raiser, and I think that they're going to be fine without him in the regular season. I think that he's a great defensive player. Maybe they'll be a little worse on defense. I think he's a great defensive player and rebounder. But maybe he's a little selfish on offense sometimes, but that's like kind of the price of doing business when you have a player of his caliber, is that those guys get to make bad decisions every once in a while. They have this great season where they're like one of the top 5 teams in the NBA, like again, with like, there seems to be real team
defense by points per game right now. I think that the points per possession, I think the Thunder are still number 1, but I think that they're the best defense by
something. Yeah. So my only point here is I don't even really have a big issue with people really calculator ratting like Jalen's case or anything like that. My thing is just like, okay, but now you do need to be consistent. I want you to tell me how the Boston Celtics are winning basketball games if that's your philosophy. Because it's happening somehow. Someone on this team is good. Somebody, if Jaylen Brown isn't an MVP candidate, then there is more than one All-Star on this team somewhere.
Joe Mazzulla.
I guess it's Joe Mazzulla. I don't know, because the thing is, I don't think calculator rats believe that. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if you watch the games and you look at the games, like Derek White is one of Derek White should make first team all defense. Like, you can't say enough about Derek White. He's not a good offensive player.
I can't slander Derek White in any capacity anymore because I have to save all of these arguments for VJ Edgecombe 3 years from now.
Yeah.
I saw a thing about like efficiency on driving, and it was like VJ was pretty low and Derek White was pretty low. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, but possession battle and doesn't turn the ball over, causes turnovers and I'm like, I have to save all of these arguments for year 4 VJ when he has a 55 true shooting, but is top 20 in EPM or whatever it is.
Yeah. I just think, because again, I don't think any of this is wrong, but I think it does kind of need to, I do think that if you want to be ahead of the curve and you want to be like a calculator rat about some of this stuff, then you need to sit up and kind of start paying a little bit of attention to like Peyton Pritchard and like Kada and like some of these guys, because if you're going to make that argument, that means that somebody else on the team is like a all-star.
Well, you're singing, their tune right now. You're preaching to their choir. They love those guys. Peyton Pritchard. There was a famous post. I apologize. I can't remember who had this post a few years ago, but there was a famous post about how like Peyton Pritchard basically has a chance to be a hidden, not superstar, but like a hidden all-star basically on the Celtics. And they did like this per possession thing. And they did this whole piece about how they went back to his college days. And they were like, he was the lead. He led them to a number 1 offense in college and kind of similar trajectory to Jalen Brunson and whatever. And I do think that a lot of the guys that you're talking about also would agree. And because those guys are very big into RAPM and EPM and that, and those guys crushing those statistics relative to their standing in the league. I think like if you were to do like the Ringer 100, well, maybe not the Ringer because Bill will probably lobby to put them on there. Yeah, I was gonna say, but like if you did like ESPN's 100 list, like Kada wouldn't be on there, but like if you did like the calculator rats list, he would probably be like in the 70s or something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I do think that they have clearly discovered something when it comes to their like identity with like the possession control stuff and with just having the amount of screeners and spacers and guys who are just
they do
good.
have a lot of high motor guys. I think one of the big secret sauce things is they have a ton of high motor like guys.
Polarfall did a post about this like a year ago.
Yeah.
Polarfall on Twitter did a whole thing about like the importance of high motor in the NBA.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how that's why it was Pacers Thunder in the NBA finals, where he was like, look at these teams. They're just filled with guys that are great perimeter defenders, that run the floor, that gas teams out, that have talent all over, but also are just extremely high effort guys.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the Celtics did was they went out and they drafted Hugo Gonzalez, who is that. They went out and they, Minot's gone now, but Minot fit into that mold. Jordan Walsh, obviously.
Yep.
So
now who they converted and brought onto the team, like, you know, Kata is one of those guys when he's out there, like,
but the long and short of it is that I do think that there's a chance that the Celtics can win the East in a way that I didn't even. I mean, without Tatum, they won't. But if Tatum comes back and is, I don't know, 80% of Tatum.
Can I say something? I don't think they're dead on arrival if Tatum doesn't come back. They're dead on arrival for the title. I don't think they're dead on arrival in the East if Tatum doesn't come back.
So right now their matchup would be 2-7, right? Because they're the 2 seed, right?
The 2 seed, yeah. They could be anywhere between 2 and 4. I think.
I think they could beat anyone from the 7 to 11 range right now. So I wouldn't disagree with that.
Yeah. I think they would win that. I think I think the Knicks probably match up against us without Tatum the best. Like,
we need to talk about the Knicks because I know we've talked about them a little bit.
Yeah,
they're the most Jekyll and Hyde team I've ever seen.
They're crazy, dude. I have no idea what to make of them. I'll start thinking like, man, the Knicks are dog shit, and then they'll put together like 3 awesome weeks. I'm like, oh, I guess I was wrong about the Knicks, and then they'll immediately start sucking shit again.
It makes sense. Since the All-Star break, they went into the All-Star break, they destroyed the Sixers. No, the Sixers didn't have a bunch of guys in that game, and the Sixers are also just a thin team, and honestly not a contender by any means. But they destroyed them. Like it was, they beat them 138-89 going into the All-Star break, and they were fresh off a bad loss against the Pacers. They had just beat the Celtics. The Pistons have owned them all year, and that was the one thing is that I think that's a bad matchup for them this year. Funny enough, I think the Cavs are kind of a bad matchup for them this year, which is weird because they've owned the Cavs in the past. But like the Cavs amount of creation that they have on that team now is going to make it a difficult like way to slow them down for the Knicks in the playoffs. And you start to think you're like, if they just like if the Pistons aren't a great matchup for them, the Cavs aren't a great matchup for them, and like they would beat
the Celtics. The Celtics are probably their best matchup because they kind of they've had the Celtics number a little bit, like
especially if Tatum doesn't come back. I think that it's just like
the
talent will win out at that point. I think
of any of the teams in the East, I think they've. It's very annoying to me, but of any of the teams in the East, I think they've played the Tatumless Celtics the best of the East teams I've watched this year.
Yeah. And so I'm like just looking at their schedule. Like they smacked the Celtics. Mm-hmm. They beat the Nuggets in overtime. Like they had some real quality wins. And that was the Nuggets with Jokic. They had some real quality wins going into the All-Star game. Since the All-Star game, they got smacked by the Pistons again, who have just had their number all year.
Yeah.
They were down 20 to the Rockets in the fourth. The Rockets blew a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter. They won by 2. Then the Bulls hung with them the whole game. The Bulls are tanking right now. Like this is not a Bulls team that is like trying to win by any means. They beat them by 6. They squeaked out a win there, and then they got smacked by the Cavs last night. Honestly, the Cavs probably could have pulled away. Some of it is just cold shooting. Like they've shot like 28% from 3 or some shit since the All-Star break. Like I think that will level out a little bit, but once again, one of the most Jekyll and Hyde teams that I've ever seen. Obviously, a ton of pressure on them with the East as wide open as it is this year. But I know Jalen Brunson hasn't been quite as consistent and good as he has been in the past this year. I know the Karl Anthony Towns thing is weird. He only took 4 shots last night. Like, if you're going to have Karl Anthony Towns on your team and he's only taking 4 shots, you might as well just play like Huck Porty at that point because he's not going to bring you a ton of other value
No.
Even though he's, a good rebounder and has other skills, provide spacing and such. Like, I just think that this is a team that has kind of had a bit of an identity crisis going on 2 straight years, and they made the conference finals, could have realistically made the NBA finals last year. They have the talent, and they have the stretches where they look like they can be the best team in the East, but I don't know what it is. Like, once again, I think they would beat the Sixers in the first round. That would be the matchup right now, but I don't think the Sixers are dead on arrival in that matchup. And
No.
I think that is one of the things that I felt like coming into the year, that I felt confident that the Knicks would just smack teams that were lower seeds. And I guess the real point I'm trying to make here is, like, their point of attack defense could end up their point of attack defense, combined with the fact that they only can play Mitchell Robinson however many minutes. Maybe they can scale his minutes up a little bit in the playoffs, combined with the fact that they just are wildly consistent as a shooting team. And the Karl Anthony Towns thing is just always a big question mark. He'll have weeks and stretches where he looks like an all NBA, clear top 15 player in the NBA, and then he has weeks where he just kind of doesn't give a fuck. And it just kind of goes through the motions, and the team hasn't really been able to find their footing for a long enough period that I feel confident in them. Just definitely coming out of the East, like, they are majorly coasting on their talent in a way that is, like, basically the opposite of what we just talked about with the Celtics, where the Celtics are winning by, all of, like, the margin shit. They're winning by committee. They're winning with, occasionally you'll have, obviously Jalen's had a great scoring season, but, like, it's not like this team and none of us saw this coming I think even you were high on them. I don't think you saw them challenging for the 1 seed in the regular season.
I said 48 wins, and they're probably going to be more like a 55 win team, which is nuts, but
insane.
Yeah.
And but like the Knicks are, it's definitely concerning. Like, I would say maybe they could just coast to the conference finals on talent, but don't feel great about the Pistons matchup. Don't feel great about the Cavs matchup.
Yeah.
If Tatum comes back with the Celtics, like, they obviously beat them last year, and they can hang with them, but I think the Celtics have a decent chance, if not a good chance, in that series. And then, like I said, I don't think that the only team I feel like I would be pretty confident that they would beat, a team that could realistically, they could play in the first round. I think it's just not the year for the Magic. Like,
I was just gonna say, like, just the injuries and, like, the bullshit. Like,
it's just not their year. Like, I think that they would definitely give them a series, but it feels like it's just not the year for the Magic, and we'll see where they go from here. But the Knicks are definitely not the dominating force that I thought that they were going to be. They're just a Jekyll and Hyde team.
I wouldn't pick them to come out of the East. I'm still kind of collecting data on, like, the Harden Cavs, but, like, I would definitely pick the Pistons to come out of the East ahead of them. Again, I think the Knicks have, like, a little bit of a weird head-to-head with the Celtics. I do think they have a little bit of an advantage on the Celtics head-to-head, especially if Tatum doesn't come back. But I kind of like the Celtics odds over the Knicks, just because what you were talking about. I don't think the Knicks match up with a lot of these East teams very well. Like,
there is one scenario I forgot about. They could fall to the 4 seed and then play the Raptors. I would still take them against the Raptors.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The Raptors
in the playoffs. It's the talent gap is just too. It's that actually, funny enough, I think we have a historical analog for that, which is the 2022 Raptors versus the Sixers with Harden.
Yeah.
Where it's just like everyone talked themselves into the Raptors as, like, the try hard team that, like, could and then it was just like, oh, the Sixers have a ton more offensive talent, and kind of coasted to the first 2 games, and then the series was over. But that
broke Embiid's face before they got it.
Right. Well, that was game 6. That was because we fucking lollygagged in games 4 and 5 and let them back into the series. And that's why really they fucking blew it. But the long and short of it is that the Knicks can't coast on talent anymore. Like, they have to, like, they have to play how they did going into the All-Star break for me to feel confident about them. And Jeremy Sohan ain't fixing this shit. Like, I'm sorry. I know it's the Knicks, and I know he was young, and it's prestige zone and all that stuff. But like, I said it when they got him. I was like, I would rather see what I have in Muhammad Diawara. Like, I don't think that he's a good player. I don't think that he's a player that's going to fit in well with a team that wants to play Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson a bunch of minutes. And I think that he is someone, it's fine to take a flyer on him at the minimum, but I wouldn't allow him. He's not good enough for me to change my game plan for anything. Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, Deuce McBride, you want to talk about a calculator rat favorite? Deuce McBride been missing some time recently. And I know Jose's filled in nicely. Like, he's had some really good games for the Knicks. I think that he's one of those guys that is just proves to be extremely important for this team, because when he is out, they just don't have anyone who has the reliable shooting off the catch and shooting as a pull-up shooter either. Like, he is just an extremely reliable shooter that is kind of forgotten when we discuss the Knicks, but has proven to be extremely important for this team. And we'll see what their rotation looks like in the playoffs. But once again, I'm keeping an eye on that situation, especially with Mike Brown as the coach, as opposed to Tibbs, who I think is just a better coach.
Can we talk about something else too while we're talking about the playoffs? I don't think the West advantage is as great as at least as I've been saying earlier in the season.
What does that mean?
I don't think these East teams are going to be as dead on arrival in the finals as I was kind of thinking throughout this year. We're pretty deep in the season now. Everybody's like pretty good in the East. Like, the top four, those are all serious teams. Like, the top four teams that we just ran through it. Like, I think the Knicks are probably the weakest. And like, we kind of had, like, I think most people picked the Knicks to come out of the East this year, kind of before the season, like
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I don't know. Like, I don't think, I mean, I know obviously, like, SGA being out, like, is going to change how the Thunder look, but like, the Thunder have
they never lose games though. They're another team that just, like, I know they've had more losses, but there's a 45-14. I think they've lost one game since SGA got hurt.
I get it. I don't. They were what did they win? 67 games last year. Their playoff run was not a 67 win team's playoff run. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's probably going to continue. I think they're vulnerable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they're vulnerable. I think they're still the favorites. I think they deserve to be the favorites. I don't think they're immortal. I don't think the Nuggets would be immortal if they came out of the West. And, like, I think the Spurs are probably, like, the big wild card this year.
If the Spurs upset one of those two teams, the playoffs are going to be chaos.
Yeah. I mean, and it's I'm not, like, writing that off. Like, with Wemby, it's possible.
It's such an X factor, and the combination with the Spurs that I feel like, between Wemby's defense just being completely game wrecking, having Castle a point of attack, even though his offense, like, Castle's going to lose them a playoff game or two where it's just like he has like 7 turnovers and he can't make a shot, but he's also going to provide just a level of consistency on defense. Honestly, the more I watch Castle, the more I'm just like, this is not a perfect 1-for-1 comp by any means. Like, they're very different players. I just feel like, even with the shooting and the turnover stuff, like, if he can clean up some of that and just get to a point where he's like a capable knockdown shooter, he could be this version's generation of Jrue Holiday, where it's just like, I don't think that he's someone who, if he is your best lead creator, you're going anywhere. But on a team like the Spurs, where they have all of these other guys that can kind of take some of the creation load, like Fox, Harper, Wemby, he's going to fit in really nicely as kind of a jack of all trades style guy on that team. And he can occasionally have these stretches where he can, get buckets and kind of keep you in a game. And the thing with that team that I've just been, every time I watch them, is like, they actually, I thought one of the things coming into this season why I couldn't fully buy into them, I bought into them as a regular season team, largely because of Wemby. Why I couldn't fully buy into them as contenders, even though I think they're 7-1 against the other top 5 teams in the NBA this season, which is I think the Pistons were 6-2 and they were 7-1. Like, that's definitely something notable for sure. The reason I couldn't fully buy into them was I just felt like they didn't have enough forwards and they didn't have enough shooting. And it is tough when you watch them sometimes and it's like, oh man, they got Harrison Barnes playing real minute. Like it occasionally, like the guys that just have to fill in those forward like edges of the rotation forwards, it is tough at times. But
Yeah.
Champagny is a knockdown shooter. Like he takes a ton of threes and he makes a ton of threes. Devin Vassell occasionally has games like he had against the Pistons the other night where he comes off the bench and cannot miss. Keldon Johnson has kind of reinvented himself as a player this year and has always kind of weirdly like floated between being like, he came into, if I remember correctly, he like came into the league as like a power forward and then he was like a shooting guard for a little bit and now he's kind of like a 3 for them. Like he's kind of just someone that's been like a 2 through a 4 and he's more of like an energy dirty work guy for them now.
Yeah.
And I just feel like they have the motor thing combined with enough shooting and a ton of creation and then a god protecting the rim and the paint on the other end, that it just feels like there's no way we could just completely write them off in a way that I probably would have felt before this season, because I would have felt they were too young. I would have felt they were a year away. I would have felt all of these things about their wings and their forwards and stuff. But like, I don't think they can win the finals, but I think they can definitely make a run here.
Them kicking the Thunder in the teeth over and over again this year, it really changed how I look at them. Like, because I think that matters. Like,
and the reason why I feel more confident about the Thunder in the playoffs this year is basically due to the fact that I think SGA has gone up a level. But if Wemby is the neutralizer there, where Castle and Wemby, I'm not saying they've solved SGA by any means, but he's had some of his more underwhelming games. And when they don't have SGA going, they haven't really even had like when AJ Mitchell was healthy, they had him as a fallback option. When Jalen Williams was healthy, they had him as a fallback option last year, but they don't really have those guys healthy right now. And then we'll see. Like they have kind of been Celtics East this year when SGA doesn't play, where it's just like next guy up. And it's like AJ Mitchell, Isaiah Joe, Jared McCain had a 20-point game the other day. Like Cason Wallace, I don't know if you've looked at Cason Wallace's stats recently, but Cason Wallace has had the best offensive stretch of his career. And I just keep thinking, how do they fucking keep getting away with this? Even though we all like Cason a lot in that draft. Like we were big Cason guys. Like the vision with him was basically kind of what I argued with VJ in the draft, which was like, even if he's a raw offensive player that takes a while to become, like a starting level offensive guard or whatever, he's going to be additive in so many other ways on his rookie contract, where like he's going to provide you with point of attack defense. He's going to be a hustle guy, get steals. And Cason is like leading the league in steals right now, but he also is coming off the Toronto game last night where he had 27 points on 11 of 16, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. He had a 10 assist game before that. So he's kind of turned a corner on offense. So like, I feel like with the Thunder, the reason why I like them a little bit more than I like them last year as a playoff team, even though I picked them to win the finals last year, they just feel like they have more options to go to when the offense gets really stagnant in a way that they didn't last year. But the Wemby factor is just like something that is just undeniable when I'm watching him. And the reason why I haven't fully believed in the Pistons is because eventually they're going to have to play a team and that doesn't have Wemby, but has a way to game plan around their weaknesses with the lack of non-Cade on ball guys. And the Spurs just completely exposed that. Like they completely exposed that in that matchup. And they've even been doing that with the Thunder pretty much all this season in a way that no one really does with the Thunder in the regular season. They usually wait until the playoffs when that has been kind of the case for them.
Yeah. I mean, so it sounds like you're a little higher on the Thunder than I am. I just think I think an East team winning the finals is way more possible now than I thought before the year. It's just kind of where I was going with that. Like, I don't think these East teams are going to be like dead on arrival in like any matchup. Like, to be totally honest, like I think the Thunder should be favorites against the Cavs and would probably beat the Cavs. but that's not a series where I'm like the Cavs have no shot.
No, I don't think that they would be dead on arrival by any means.
Yeah.
I also look at it like, although Donovan Mitchell, that's been the one thorn in his side, is that matchup.
Yeah.
They showed like his last like 5 games, he's shooting like 30% from the field against them, and like they tend to figure out ways to kind of slow down even high-powered playoff offenses and high-level creators in a way that most teams have not been able to. But I don't think that I don't think any team should be considered a shoe-in for winning the title from necessarily either conference. Like, I could see the Thunder getting upset in the second round. I could see them winning the finals. They're more likely to make the finals than get upset in the second round. But I don't disagree, but I will say this much, and it's a bit of a cop-out here, but when I think about teams that like make the finals and how I feel about them in February versus when we're in the finals in June, how well did they play? Like, sometimes teams just kind of become like undeniable forces and they hit like, and it's why the Pacers had a chance, to be honest with you, last year, where like the Pacers just found their rhythm and just, they figured something out at some point, and they started playing this connective style of basketball, and they could occasionally, I always bring up the Aaron Nesmith like turning into Game 6 Klay Thompson moment that happened that swung. When we look, I think about it like this, like Bill did his, when Chris Paul was like, it was clear he was retiring before he actually retired, he did his sliding doors, the Chris Paul Lakers trade, where when that trade got denied, that it actually changed the fortune of like 7 different teams in the NBA and all of these things. I think that Aaron Nesmith, like if the Knicks not blow it up, but if the Knicks make significant, like if they lose again and they make significant moves after this season, that's the game that I feel like I'm going to go back to, where, and obviously like it could have shifted the title picture last year, but Halliburton gets hurt in Game 7 and the Thunder win Game 7, and we don't have that conversation. But Aaron Nesmith, I occasionally will just go back and watch the highlights from the game. Bro, he hit 5 threes, like some of the most high difficulty threes you'll ever see.
They were, guys all over him, dude. That was like one of the most.
They doubled him, and he hit a 3 to like tie the game late in the game, almost tie the game. And he hit 5.
My dog, dude. Like, respect my dog, Aaron Nesmith. Like
5 threes in like 2.5 minutes, and that then made it so that the Knicks fired Tibbs. Yeah. That then made it so that they hired Mike Brown, and it seemingly has been a very rocky experience so far this year. Mm-hmm. And we'll see if that changes kind of how they view their team. But I think that has potential to have massive ramifications at a minimum for the Knicks, at a minimum for like, that's the kind of game that if you never win a title, you look back, because like the Knicks would have had a chance in the finals.
Yeah.
And
for sure, yeah.
And that's the kind of game you look back on, like the Sixers fans look back on the Kawhi shot, where it's just like, there was our chance, Kawhi hits them. Or maybe if you want to go 2023, the Sixers look back at Game 6 against the Celtics, where we could never pull away, and then the Celtics win the game because Tatum makes all of his shots in the fourth after going like 1 of 14 to start that game. Mm-hmm. Those are the kind of games that you look back on when your title window's closed and go, if Aaron Nesmith doesn't turn into literally a god for 2 minutes, we might win the NBA finals. And instead we're, talking about them trading Karl-Anthony Towns this offseason, or trading someone else, potentially having to backstab one of Josh Hart or Mikal Bridges this offseason. But the long and short of it is that, like, I think that this is, I would be pretty surprised if an East team won, but I'm not counting it out. Honestly, it pains me to say it, but if Tatum comes back and he's healthy, I think that the Celtics might have the highest ceiling of the East teams, because I'm just like, I have to see it with the Pistons still. The Knicks have been so Jekyll and Hyde this year. The Cavs have added Harden halfway through the season, and that's always been, a big question mark where I don't want to be loosey with the football. But the Celtics have been there before. They're adding in a player that knows how to play with most of this team, and they've kind of, like I said, beaten every allegation. Jalen and the Celtics have beaten a lot of the allegations that were thrown against them in the past, and it pains me to say it, but I do think that they would have a decent shot against anyone in the finals if Tatum comes back and they find their rhythm. But
I'll say that here's what I would say about that. I do think that, like, if Tatum comes back, I do think that is going to go worse and be a little rockier than people expect. It might get ironed out before the playoffs, depending on when he comes back. But, like, I do think that is a little bit of a something for them to adjust to. Because, you know, unless Tatum really does, like, kind of take a step back offensively, by step back, I don't mean get worse. I mean, like, kind of really, like, turn into, like, go back to rookie Jason Tatum, like how he on that, like, that rookie one where he's, like, more of like a corner 3-point guy, dirty work guy. Because I do think that they have
stretch
like
5. Bill said he's going to be the stretch 5. That was before you guys traded for Vucevic.
That's so funny. Bill's such a demon. I mean, honestly, not the worst idea I've heard in the world though, because he is like a demonic rebounder and, like, would be, like, kind of demand a lot of attention, obviously. So I would not be opposed to, like, in certain playoff matchups, like, trying out Tatum at the 5 and seeing how it goes. Like,
the Sixers channel in the Discord is going to accuse me of being a BMM plant because I'm already getting allegations because I won't push for Tyrese Maxey for clutch player of the year on the podcast that I'm a BMM plant. By the way, that is Boston Media Mafia is not a YKB thing.
no,
I do just want to clear that up. That's Cookies Hoops. They did invent that. So I gotta give them credit.
Yeah.
If anyone thinks that is a invention of ball, that goes way back to Cookies Hoops. But
yeah.
The where I've landed with the Sixers this year, what I want them to be, first off, I either want one of two things.
Yeah.
I either want it to be a complete disaster train wreck, so Nick Nurse and possibly Daryl Morey gets fired, because Sixers Adam came out with an article where he was basically like, there's not pressure on Nick Nurse to, like,
let's go
win, and, like, potentially, like, if they lose in the first round in embarrassing fashion, he could get fired. And Daryl Morey is then fully on the hot seat. Like, it's like he might get one more chance to hire another coach, but, like, that's really it. And they'd probably let him go at the end of his contract. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that element of it. And then that's like one scenario where I'm just like, get to fucking wipe my hand clean of this front office and this coaching staff, and let's just start anew. Let's fucking turn a corner. Right. And then there's the other end where it's like, I would love to be the team that just, like, is kind of a pain in the ass for, like,
it's
the Knicks or
the
Celtics. But the problem with that, and I've talked about this before, is that you win game 1 of that series and you go, we can win.
Yeah. And then you're really disappointed when you lose in 6. Yeah.
And then when you lose, you're like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. I fully bought back in with this team because they won game 1 and they embarrassed the team. And then they lose the series. And I'm like, these fucking losers. So that's the tightrope that I'm trying to walk right now, where it's like, we either get one disaster and it falls off, or we're like the scrappy team that wins a playoff series and maybe even pushes a team in the second round and, is like a competitive scrappy team that no one wants to play. So that's kind of just where I'm at with the Sixers right now. In other Sixers news, they have, by the way, they're undefeated since we chanted Fire Morey, because I'm not counting that game because they were losing when we started doing that chant against the Pelicans. They're 2-0 since did the YKB Fire Morey chant game save the Sixers season? Stay tuned to find out. The answer is no. So did Kevin Durant calling everyone slurs save the Rocket season?
Yes. Next question.
They're 4-2. So they're 4-3 since the Sixers got their pick. They're 4-2 because that happened on trade deadline day. They lost to the Hornets. I'm going to say they're 4-2, really. And they're undefeated out of the All-Star break, right? Aren't they undefeated out of the All-Star break? I think they're 3-0. Yeah, they just smacked the Jazz. They are currently they lost to the Knicks, but they were up 20 in the Knicks game. That's the thing. It's like they were up 20 in the Knicks game in Madison Square Garden. They lost by 2. Then they destroyed the Jazz, and then out of the break, they beat the Hornets, who have been really good this season, and have found themselves down here the stretch. Khan is on pace to shatter the record for rookie. What are you laughing at?
You finish your thought, and then I want to say something I saw.
Were you going to say that you thought that Udoka was, cursing the White Devil Khan Knipple as he drained threes in that game?
No, what I was gonna say is I saw a stat view style stat about the Hornets record before Bill gave Khan a ride home. After Bill gave Khan a ride.
Yeah, they won what 30% of their games, and now they've won like 75% or something, like 80%.
Way around or something like that. I think the Bill Carr ride jinxed them. No, is it good?
There's no way. They've only lost 2 games recently.
Oh, okay. Then maybe it was the other way around. Then, yeah.
Hold on. This is an investigative journalism piece. Hold on.
Yeah.
They have lost 2 games recently, which is a lot for them, I think. Yeah. We're gonna see.
When did Bill give Khan a ride home? That was like All-Star break.
We're doing hold on.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the search feature on Twitter just fucking sucks. It's just completely useless. Like
it might not pop up because it was a graphic, like, so it probably wouldn't show up. Like,
I'm finding it.
Okay.
Win percentage since Bill Simmons gave Khan a ride 73.7.
Okay.
Before that, it was 35%.
The Bill Simmons car ride home
changed the season.
They
were already winning. They already had turned some things around, but like it didn't.
No, it's Bill. It's Bill.
It didn't hurt that Bill, the God, touched Khan.
Yeah,
and he hasn't missed a 3 since. He's 20 games shy of Keegan Murray's and he broke the rookie record. Like, he's gonna break the rookie record with 20 games to spare, is what I'm trying to say. First 3-pointers made.
Right.
The amazing stat that Chiodo gave me. If the Sixers had drafted Khan, he would be top 10 at the end of this season and made 3-pointers in the franchise's history.
That's nuts.
But that is more about because Maxi's about to break the record. First off, VJ is going to break Iverson's record. Almost certainly going to break, or he's on pace to break Iverson's rookie 3-point record. Yeah. And VJ is not even a shooter like that. Like, he's a decent shooter, but like
that's just all about like how the game has changed. Like the Celtics,
course.
Yeah, the Celtics? I just saw like the Celtics top 10 list, and it's like Marcus Smart is still like 4. Like, it's like Antoine Walker, Paul Pierce, like Larry Bird, and then everybody else are guys that are like on the team right now. It's like Derek White, Sam Hauser, Jason Tatum. Like
it's definitely a volume thing and like a pace and space. You see this all the time, but the Sixers specifically are one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the history of the NBA because JJ Redick's in our top. JJ Redick's like 7th on the list, and he played for us for 2 seasons.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Like, so our top, you want to try to guess our top 5 right now? I just told you Maxi's about to break the record.
Yeah, I was say Maxi is a lock. JJ Redick.
JJ Redick is outside of the top 5.
Up there? Is it
who?
There?
So Embiid is on the list, but he's actually not. He's top 10, but he's not top. Embiid doesn't take as many threes as you think. He's a massive mid-range guy, but he very rarely takes he takes a few threes per game and like is a streaky 3-point shooter. But no, the list is so number.
Iguodala wasn't really taking threes.
No, he was not a 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the number 2 is Maxey. Obviously, he's about to be number 1. Number 1 is Allen Iverson.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry, we were talking. I thought I said that. Yeah.
Okay. So Iverson is number 1. Number 3, Robert Covington.
I should have known that. That's obvious. Actually.
Number 4, Kyle Korver.
Oh my God. I would have never gotten that.
In the mid 2000s, by the way.
Yeah,
I
would have never gotten that.
Played his first 6 seasons with us.
I forgot. I know it was 6 seasons. I completely memory hold that he was ever on the Sixers. Like, I would have never remembered that.
One of my favorite memories ever was the draft night. I want to say that was the 02 draft, might have been 03.
Yeah.
I wanted us to draft Kyle Korver so badly because I had every year in school we get a March Madness team. We got assigned to March Madness team.
Yeah.
And my team that year was Creighton, and they made it to the Sweet 16, and it was a huge upset. It was before Creighton was Creighton.
Yeah.
And Kyle Korver was the best player in that team. And I was like, the Sixers need to draft this guy, not knowing anything about the draft, being like, I would take him with the 7th pick in the draft. Like I was just like 12 or 13 years old, like an idiot. And I go to bed because the first round's over, and like this was really not when people watch like the whole draft.
Yeah.
And so I go to bed and I wake up the next morning and I don't hear about it because it's like I'm not going on the internet. Like 2002, 2003, like I'm not really like plugged in. So I don't know that the Sixers got Kyle Korver until the next day, like not the day after the draft, but the day after that. I woke up and in the newspaper, it said the Sixers traded what infamously became cash that they used to buy a office copier. They sent like $10,000 or whatever it was to the New Jersey Nets at the time for a 2nd round pick, and they drafted Kyle Korver with that pick. And I was over the fucking moon, and I had no idea he was going to become as good as he was. Like Korver was a demon. Like, I mean, he made an all-star game, like was a very good role player for
one of the best shooters in like NBA. I would say he's probably a top 10 shooter of all time in the NBA.
It's certainly top 10 when you consider like difficulty and stuff and like movement shooting and stuff. Yeah, an era and how ahead of his time he was. Korver's one of the 10 to 15 best shooters of all time for sure. So number 5 on this list is, you're gonna love this.
Okay.
Tobias Harris.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
By the way, I remember, you remember that graphic a few years ago that was like best winning percentages of players this decade, and it was like Rudy Gobert, Jokic, Donovan Mitchell, like all these guys, and then George Niang was on there.
Yeah.
If the Pistons do this Tobias has got to be up there, right? Yeah. Like the Sixers were really good. Yeah. Like they were always a top 4 or 5 team in the East. And now he's on the Pistons, and they were what, the 4 seed last year, 5 seed. Yeah. And now they're the 1 seed. Like Tobias has got to be in the top like 10 or 15, I think, in winning percentage over this decade. And also, I mean, if they make what I laid out the nightmare scenario when we were in New Orleans, I might have done it on the live podcast even, which was, there's a chance that the Final 4 in the East this year. Honestly, there's even, I could probably go further with this and make this more of a nightmare for Sixers fans, but I won't. But it's possible it's the Celtics with or without Tatum. Celtics have owned us. The Knicks, who have kind of been our rivals the last few years, and we've never beat them in the playoff series. The Knicks, who also have the Villanova guys, by the way. That's another thing in there. Mikal Bridges, who we drafted. The Cavs with Harden.
Yep.
Could also be in that group. And then the 4th team being the Pistons with Tobias. Awesome. That could be the Final 4 in the East this year. Very good chance that could be the Final 4. And then if you want to flip it to the other side, you have Thunder, who are doing the process. Basically, they were allowed to do the process, and they just were able to do it. Who just got Jared McCain and already have Isaiah Joe from us. Nuggets, Jokic, obviously, Embiid, Jokic, whatever. I need to soul search a little bit and figure out, like, because we don't really have anything with the Spurs. The only funny thing about the Spurs is that Julian Champagny could be a starter for them, and we waived him to sign Mac McClung for the dunk contest.
That's awesome.
3 years ago. Awesome. Yeah. But there's really no other team in the West that I could think of that has, I'm sure there's a narrative battle team that I could conjure up here and figure out, like, something. Minnesota, there's not really any sort of like narrative battle there, but I could figure out something. But yeah, the long and short of it is that the Sixers will end up on the opposite side of a narrative battle again, possibly. And if we face the Raptors and lose to them in the first round, Nick Nurse, it's just like,
yeah, right.
Emmanuel, we didn't trade for Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel Quickly versus Maxey, there's that whole thing. But we'll worry about those narrative battles when we get around to the playoffs times anyway. The last thing before we fully get out of here. Oh, actually, another thing about the Sixers 3-point all-time leaders. Furkan Korkmaz is in the top 10.
That's awesome. Beast.
He was trying to get traded the whole time.
He knew he was too good to be on that team. That's why the trade demand happened.
The amount of former Sixers that, when we look back at the Daryl Morey tenure, that were out of the NBA within a year of playing for the Sixers is going to be, you could build a super Euro League team out of guys that were just like on the Sixers, and then a year later were playing for like, I don't know, fucking some team in Tel Aviv or some shit.
I was gonna say, what's bigger, the amount of guys that you guys waived that went on to become like real rotation players, or guys that were immediately in Europe?
If they went 5-on-5, it would be a special matchup.
Yeah,
it would be a special matchup of guys we lost for nothing, like starting point guard, Jared McCain, starting shooting guard, Isaiah Joe, starting wing, Julian Champagne. We don't really have Paul Reed. We can start Paul Reed at center.
Paul Reed. Yep.
Paul Reed's been like a key piece for the Pistons the last few weeks. And we don't really, but we never had power forwards.
Yeah.
We don't have a 4 really. Like, if you really wanted to stretch it, you could say Batum, but like, I don't like, there's not really many, like, and Roko's was never the same after he left us. Neither was Thibault. Thibault's just I think he's just gonna retire. Like,
no, he's out.
I think he's done after this season. Like, he barely plays, and yeah, no, it's over for him. So last thing, just a funny thing. It doesn't really mean anything. And I'm sure in 3 weeks, just like when we overreact to the beginning of the season and we look back at our takes, like we kind of laugh like a little bit, like LOL, like this is a joke. Jonathan Kuminga's debut with the Hawks was a comical one. So Jonathan Kuminga went 9 of 12 from the field for 27 points, 3 or 4 from 3, 6 of 7 from the line, 7 rebounds,
Amazing.
4 assists, 2 steals, and was a plus 16 in 24 minutes in his debut for the Atlanta Hawks.
Need that real bad.
Could he be the first player to leave the Warriors and have them actually regret it after all of this?
I mean, like, look, I would love that. That would be very funny. I refuse to believe Jonathan Kuminga is a good player, personally, for personal reasons. But
he's just tantalizing enough. People are doing this with Benedict Mathurin right now on the Clippers. They're like, oh, they let the Clippers get this team in, and I'm like, all right, let's wait 3 weeks.
Yeah. Benedict Mathurin, nobody's ever had a game like Benedict Mathurin have. Was that game 4 of the finals? Or
it was a crucial game.
Yeah, I have never seen it's Jover, we're back, it's Jover fucking swing like that. That was insane. That's always going to be like my Mathurin moment, like, for me. That's how he's always going to exist in my mind, is like, you ruined the fucking game. You saved the game. You ruined the fucking game.
Yep, he will be defined by that forever unless he seemingly does kind of turn things around here with the. Once again, I didn't hate the Clippers just getting him in that trade. You were doing that trade for the picks. Why not?
He's a fine throw-in. Like, he is a good-ish player. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think he's maybe not an above-average rotation player, but he's like a fine rotation player. Like,
one day I want to do a thing called the neutralizer draft, where we just draft players that, like, basically, if they're on your team, they're not going to make your team better, but they're also not going to, like, destroy your team.
Yeah.
Like, the peak of this is like Brandon Ingram.
Karis LeVert, I feel like another one of those guys.
There's just like a handful of guys, and it's just like, yeah, when they're on the court, you're going to hang with teams, but when you sit, you might be a little bit better even when they sit.
Yeah.
But like, I thought of this when Brandon Ingram, they played the Thunder last night. Brandon Ingram was like a minus 27. And they lost by like 5 points or something. And I want to do something, and Benedict Mathurin falls in that category for me, where I'm just like, if he's on your team, he's unless you have a season like the Pacers did this year, he's not going to make you destructively worse, but he's also not going to make you that much better at all because of how much he, demands to have the ball and the lack of playmaking and the defensive lapses and whatever. But I think that Kuminga is another guy that just falls into this category for me, where it's just like I don't think he's particularly good, but Mathurin and Kuminga will probably always have this shine of being former top picks, athletic wings that can get buckets, and people will always be clinging on to the player that they could be instead of just kind of accepting who they are as player. I know people will say this is offensive to Jeff Green because at the end of his career he had, but not even the end of his career. That was like 7 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
But he had those like kind of like renaissance moments with the Cavs and the Nets and stuff. But Jeff Green kind of always.
He did win a.
I'm aware.
Game 7.
I'm not saying, but what I'm trying to say is that, like, remember I talked about Sadiq Bey earlier?
Yeah.
These guys also fall into that category where it's just like, oh wow, Kuminga did this in the Rocket series last year, and he came in and he scored like, I want to say like he came in and he had like 12 straight points at some point or something. Yeah. And it's just like those guys they are capable of swinging big games. Yeah. Just due to the fact that they're large and athletic and wings. But Jeff Green is kind of always the guy I will use for this, where it's just like for 10 years we wanted Jeff Green to be so much better than Jeff Green was, but he eventually found his place with being like a bench wing guy for some teams when he was older. And that's pretty much all of these guys fall into that category. But all right, this was good. We hit our quota. So
we did.
Let's get to, by the way, Andrew just sent me the file. We have the files, folks.
The files have been received.
The YKB files have landed. We have the live show. So sign up for the Patreon. I'll add those to the Patreon. You can watch our live show in New Orleans. It was a lot of fun. Once again, thank you to everyone who came out. Thanks for watching this. We'll be back later this week when Sam is home with the Patreon episode.
Hopefully.
Hope he'll be back.
Yeah. Peace.